Adam, Sony wasn't the only one who disappointed us last week. Let's move on to Nintendo. So, if you weren't aware, the long-awaited Nintendo Switch Pro or Super Switch. What do you call it? The Super Switch.
Nintendo Switch 2.
Whatever. The long-rumored, long-excited, step up to the Switch was announced last week, and once again, it disappointed. So this is coming from Joe Screbbles at IGN. So he writes, Nintendo has finally revealed its long-rumored new model of the Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch OLED model. Just amazing creative work there, Nintendo. It will be released on October 8th and retail for $349.99 USD, which, if I understand, is roughly the same price as an Xbox Series S.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, so the upgraded machine, which many had taken to calling the Switch Pro when it was being rumored ahead of its announcement, features a larger 7-inch OLED screen, but the size of the console is unchanged from the base Switch model. A wider adjustable base stand, enhanced audio, 64 gigs of internal storage, and a wired LAN port in the dock. Contrary to previous reports, the new model doesn't appear to offer 4K TV output or improved performance. The new OLED screen, while providing an improved picture contrast, remains at a 1280 by 720 resolution screen. Battery life remains the same as the improved base Switch model from 2019 at an estimated 4.5 to 9 hours. Adam,
yes.
Where do you fall in this new Switch?
I'm gonna ask a simple question, Nintendo. You don't actually have anything, do you?
Yeah.
You didn't plan anything, did you?
The rumor just got away, and they're like, "Oh crap, we need to get something like quick, throw something on there."
Also, can I remind you, Nintendo, that the Vita has existed for a lot longer than your fucking Switch has?
Yeah, it has.
OLED technology isn't a new thing.
Yeah,
it might make your graphics better, but you're still at 720p, so good for you, I guess. Also,
but the thing was anyone clamoring for an OLED screen? No, nobody wanted this.
You know what they wanted? Their controllers not to kill on them.
Mm-hmm.
The battery to last a little bit longer, for it to run better and be able to run better games. And none of those have applied. So you're basically getting what we in the industry like to call an iPhone.
Yeah. Honestly, I think
that's what the Switch is. It's another iPhone.
The biggest improvement, I think, to the Switch is the fact that it now has a LAN port, because you're going to be starting to see a lot more third-party games coming to PS5 and Xbox Series, whatever, that they're not going to be able to keep up, and you're going to have to do more of that cloud streaming, and you're going to need that LAN port because doing it over Wi-Fi is not going to be enough. And I don't know, I look at this, and this is once again really disappointing. The people who are playing the Switch handheld, they don't care that it's not an OLED screen. They don't care that they're trading off that resolution for the convenience of being able to play it wherever. They're not going to be like, oh man, this game is great. Too bad it looks like crap when I'm sitting at an airport. No, they're happy that they can play a video game at an airport. That's what the selling feature of this.
Yeah, what they want is they want to be able to play it at that airport longer without having to charge it. That's what they want.
And the OLED screen is not going to do anything to help that.
So, they had a chance to go in one of two directions. They could have made it better for the people that play it on their TV. They could have made it, better resolution, a better dock, one that doesn't look like a flimsy piece of plastic. Or they could have gone the mobile route, which is have a longer battery life, it's maybe a little bit stronger on the armor protection. There's a lot of other directions they could have gone in that way. And they chose to do neither.
Yeah.
So that begs the question, Nintendo, why?
Yeah.
I'm starting to assume that this is almost like the 3DS or 3DS XL, where it just feels like a very, 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 very minor upgrade in preparation in the next 2 years of the big one.
Yeah.
Which, no, I think if you're trying to sell people consoles, I guess if you're going to change the SKU so that this is now the default Switch, cool, I guess.
Yeah, I look at this and I don't know who this is for. Most people who want a Switch have a Switch now. And I don't see, especially because this one's costing the same as much as an Xbox. It's not got the selling appeal as it does before. You're now going to have the older models, which will go down in price theoretically. And those are going to be the ones that people grab because it's not as much of a graphical improvement or gameplay improvement to say, yeah, I'm going to pay that extra amount. So I don't know who this is for. Now, my question to you is, do you think that there was a situation where Nintendo was looking to do this? They were looking to upgrade it, put some new chips, boost it up. And with everything that's going on, in the chip world, they're just like, we can't do this. And this is a half step. And they're just going to save that for the next release.
No, because if that was the case, then why do we have all these games that Nintendo has been holding back for years and years and years? It's not like it's out of their wheelhouse to not do that. They're still selling Switches the rate that they want them to. They're still selling their big name games at the way they want to. They could have just held it back and no one gives a shit. Like, really, no one would have cared. We've seen before that Nintendo fans specifically they'll deal with it, they'll take it on the chin and be ready for the next big announcement that gets them going again. So I don't think Nintendo pulling back any sort of a new console for another year or two just because they didn't have anything, I don't think it was going to make a difference. Because let's be honest, our complaint isn't about the Switch. It's still about the library. I think I don't care about an OLED Switch when there's still no games I want to play on it.
Yeah, and this is an issue that this is going to only exacerbate the problem because you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna have more and more games that cannot, perform well on the Switch, and so it's going to exacerbate. And Nintendo's going to have to put more time and effort into filling out that roster themselves.
And on top of that, like obviously with the fact that everybody's already pretty annoyed with the lack of games to begin with, now this coming out into the ether just gives them more fodder to go with. It just gives them more things to be upset about. And again, you're like in the same way that we were talking about, PlayStation screwing around with their state of plays. Right now, even as a Sony guy, I hate to say it, but Microsoft, at least PR-wise, has the best going for them right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're quietly just putting a library together. Now, to go back to the state of play thing just briefly, Microsoft doesn't do these state of play kind of things. They just pop out a picture that says, here's everything out of the Game Pass, and just be done with it. And it works. Nintendo isn't doing that either. And everybody's looking at their library because there's nothing. Nintendo's quiet because they literally are quiet.
Yeah.
It just comes down to like, if you're a Nintendo fanboy, you should be upset at like all hell right now because you're not getting anything to do, and the thing you were looking forward to for like 6 months turned out to be a dud. So that's not great. If you're a Sony fan, you're mostly okay just because of stuff that you're getting enough to at least be happy. You just want the big announcements so you can see what you're getting into for the next like couple of years. So you're just more impatient. Microsoft fans are sitting here being like, look, we may not have anything like super like over the top amazing right now, like Halo, we're still waiting on that, but at least they ain't doing anything to really piss us off right now.
Yeah, I feel like Sony has high expectations and they're not meeting them. Xbox, I would argue, had low expectations. Like, no one really had a lot of expectations for Xbox going into this
and they're
generation.
exceeding them.
And they're exceeding them.
Just being, I guess,
and
good.
And Nintendo has no expectations and is still missing them. Like, they're still disappointing.
Well, I think the average
Nintendo
gamer still has like decent expectations for Nintendo because the pedigree of the games that they have are really, really, really high. So
are they though?
They would assume. Sorry, what?
No, here's what like it's this is gonna be a hot take, and I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole because I want to like, but Nintendo, does Nintendo have the same pedigree that they did that, or are they just riding on reputation? Like, I'm thinking like this is the thought, and we can dive into this in another episode because I am not prepared to have this full conversation, but like how much of like their reputation, how much of their people saying, oh, they make great games and stuff, how much of that is, they're actually doing that, and how much of it is just them kind of riding on their legacy? Because, yeah, they make great games, but a lot of them now are just like remakes and ports, and there's not a lot of originality coming out of Nintendo.
I would say it's a bit of column A, a bit of column B. I think they are, at least on this generation of consoles, they've put in their pedestal games already with Odyssey and Breath of the Wild and stuff like that.
But those were the two games that basically came out at launch, and
that's really what I was going to say. It's also in column B but they haven't done anything since, so there's not really much else to go with it. So
because if you think of the other big ones that came out, so like I will give it to you. Yes, I don't like Breath of the Wild, but that's fine. I recognize that it is a huge seller, and a lot of people love it. So they came out with Odyssey and Breath of the Wild at the beginning, bangers, fantastic. Things are looking great for Nintendo. Then the big stuff that came out is like Mario Party, and that was a dud. Mario Kart, which was good, but it's a remake, or it's like a remaster or a port or whatever. Same with Smash. Smash is huge, but it's just a continuation of the Wii U. Pokemon Snap, that kind of came and went in really quickly, and Pokemon itself is not doing great. You've got Animal Crossing, which once again, huge banger. It's a huge success, but like that's not showing me a healthy, first party lineup for a console. So I don't know. We can talk about this more in another time. Like I'd like to actually I'd be curious to look and see how many games, is Nintendo slipping? And that's something that we could look at another time.
Yeah, I mean, again, we do have to keep in mind that it's hard to judge because the last 12 to 18 months have been mostly shallow everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you really talk of you can name games in the last 24 months, last 2 years, and very few of them will come from Nintendo's platform. And if they do come from Nintendo's platform, they're ports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Every other console has its, first party games, and it's trickling out. And they're not all necessarily bangers, but they're at least original, sequels, or they're new content. It's not just, hey, we took our games from the Wii U that you did not buy, and we're trying to sell it to you again.
Yeah,
so, I don't know.
It's the simplest way. The simplest way to go is Nintendo had a chance to at least stoke some fires again, and they just went and basically just fell back in the ice cold water they've been sitting in for a while.
Yeah. No, honestly though, ladies and gentlemen, reach out to us. Let us know through the Twitter, Instagram, or email, or even if you're watching this on YouTube, put in the comments. Is Nintendo, getting a bit of a free pass based on its legacy, or are they actually doing great? And are we making a big deal of nothing for the Switch OLED?